Hello, friends. How are you all? I hope you're doing great and taking care of yourself. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, we are going to basically start our week one journey of getting ourselves familiar with virtual machine versus container. What is virtual machine? What is container? We are also going to talk about different types of virtual machines, different types of hypervisor. So I am too excited to kick off this video for week one on Dockers for beginners. So without much further delay, let's get started. So friends, as you see on my screen, first we will be going through the theoretical definition of what is virtual machine, and then we will try to understand what is exactly the virtual machine from a pictorial diagram. So what is virtual machine? A virtual machine is a full computer inside your computer, which includes full OS, which is operating system, which can be Windows, Linux, etc., the kernel, RAM, CPU, drivers, storage, network. Virtual machine lets you to run multiple computing environments on one physical system. Note, to run a virtual machine, we need a software called as Hypervisor. So let's talk about what is virtual machine and try to make ourselves familiar with the diagram seen on the screen. So consider you have a computer, which can be your laptop or your a computer with a CPU, RAM in it, hard disks, etc., or a simple physical server, which can be an IBM server, etc. On that, we will be basically installing a software called as a hypervisor. So you have a computer or a laptop which is having the operating system called as Windows or Linux, and on that software or on that operating system or a host operating system, you will be installing another software called as an hypervisor, which will basically allow you to basically install a guest operating system, which can be Linux, which can be Windows, which can be Ubuntu, Solaris, etc. And then we will be running our applications on this. So what you have done is you have uh, divided a big server, okay, IBM server or a Mac laptop, which is having an M5 configuration, into a multiple operating system or a virtual machine, which is nothing but virtualizing the things. So what you have done is you have installed a software, then you have installed multiple, as I mentioned, the multiple computing environments, which is a guest operating system, which can be Linux, Windows, Ubuntu, Solaris, etc. And on that, you're running your desired applications. So this is a typical how virtual machine looks like. Now, what are different types of virtual machines we have? So one is called as the system virtual machine, which is full virtualization. So if you want to create a virtual machine on your laptop, you all need to install is the Oracle virtual box, and then it will have its own operating system, it's or and then you can start running the applications on it. You can also have install a Microsoft Hyper-V, VMware workstation, etc. So those are the system virtual machines which helps you for full virtualization. Then there is something another virtual machine called as the application virtual machine, which is nothing but a Java virtual machine. So whenever you want, you install the Java program and you want to start writing your code, we call it as a JVM, Java virtual machine, which will basically read your program or convert into the bytes, convert your program or a code which you have written in a Java into a readable byte format, so that it can understand and execute and give you the desired output. Then nowadays there is something called as a cloud based virtual machines, which is nothing but an AWS EC2, Microsoft Azure VM, you have Google Compute Engine. So what you are doing is you are having an AWS account. AWS has its server somewhere in the availability zone of east 1, east 2, wherever, and then you are requesting an AWS EC2 instance, which is nothing but it is running the EC2 instance on a hypervisor kind of thing. And that EC2 instance, you select the operating system. Say I need a Solaris operating system, I need a Red Hat, I need Windows, I need Ubuntu, etc. So that's the cloud based virtual machines. Let's talk about what is hypervisor. Okay, so the hypervisor, as I mentioned, it is a software which helps you to create the virtual machine. So there are two types of hypervisor. One is the bare metal and one is the hosted. So now you might be questioned, what are these hypervisors and what is difference between these two hypervisor, Dinesh, right? So a type 1 hypervisor is that you have ordered a VMware server or an IBM server, and on that you're directly installing a hypervisor as a software, and then you're creating the different virtual machines. A type 2 hypervisor is a typical our laptop or a computer system which has already an operating system like Linux, Windows, etc. And on that, you're installing the hypervisor software, and then you're creating the virtual machines by installing a guest operating systems. So that's the difference between type 1 hypervisor and a type 2 hypervisor. I hope by now you got an understanding of what is virtual machine, how can you create a virtual machine in today's cloud world. AWS EC2 is nothing but a virtual machine. Microsoft Azure virtual machine has the name such as VM, which is a virtual machine. Google Compute Engine is nothing but your virtual machine. Now, let's quickly talk about the containers, and then we will be coming up what problem the containers has resolved for us when we with respect to the virtual machine. So friends, let's talk about containers. So what are containers? Containers are the lightweight portable box or a units that packages your application along with all its dependencies in order to run it smoothly across different environments, be it an SIT, dev, UAT, QA, production, etc. So now let's look at our typical diagram of how and what containers are different from the virtual machine. So you have a typical Windows laptop or a Linux laptop or a physical server which has Windows or Linux installed on it, and on that you're installing the container engine, which can be a Docker, container D, or a Podman, etc. And then you are having the container images, or we call as a Docker image, which has the necessary libraries and the binaries of the application which I need to run. After I have executed docker build command to build that image and pull that image whatever from the docker registry or a hub, and that's if you see these libraries and bins are nothing, you have packaged in a box or a container, and then you are running that on your laptop. If you see the difference between the virtualization virtual machine, we have the host Windows operating system, and then we have installed the hypervisor, then the guest operating system, then we have application. But with the container, you just need one container engine and the package which has your necessary libraries and the bins, which can be a docker image, right? So that's the typical difference between the virtual machine and and a docker or a container, you call it. Now, and what problem does this container solve when we talk about the virtual machine? A typical question is, works on my machine but does not works on your machine. It's not my problem. So container basically solves that problem. Container also solves the problem of full operating system. You don't need to install the guest operating system which we saw in the virtual machine. You container will use your host operating system, which can be a Linux, Ubuntu, Solaris, whatever you are using, Windows, etc. It also solves the CPU memory utilization, since these are lightweights and you are just running the necessary libraries and binaries which are needed for your application. The memory utilization is very less. Portability, as I talk about it, it solves your problem of works on my machine. So since you have all necessary say on a virtual machine, you have an application which is using Python 3.1 version, and on my machine or a customer machine you have a Python version 3.0. Now there is a version inconsistency, so I need to again install 3.1 etc and other stuff, and then it can give an error that you the unable to run this application. But with container, you are packaging everything, necessary versions, necessary binary files, if and you are just handing that in a form of package or an image to a to your operations team, and all they need to do is unpack that and just double click and the application will run it. So that's the problem container solves. Efficient use of resources. With virtual machine, if you want to destroy a virtual machine, it will take time. Also, if you want to build a virtual machine, you need to install the hypervisor, guest operating system, need to allocate the memory, kernel, etc. It's a very long process. But with the container, since it's a lightweight, you can scale out, you can scale in. So tomorrow, if I want to run 10 containers on my laptop or on my IBM server, VM server, or a physical server, all I need to do is just run docker run command, and it will start running different containers whatever I need, right? Definitely you need to pull the image, give the image name and other stuff. At the same time, once my work is done, I can basically stop those containers because I don't need. And that's where the scalability comes into the picture, and that's where containers or a docker have grown its demand in the 2025 as well as 2026. The companies are moving to docker instead of going on the virtual machines, etc. So I hope by end of this video you have got an understanding of what is virtual machine, what are containers, what are different type of virtual machines, especially the cloud-based virtual machines, which is the next gen cloud-based technology, right? Everyone is using EC2 instance, Microsoft Azure virtual machine, Google computing engine, etc. Also it helps, also you got an understanding of what real problem the containers solve when compared to the virtual machine. I hope this video was helpful, and if you find it has added a value of understanding the virtual machine versus container, do not forget it to share with your friends, hit the like button, and do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Until we meet next week on What is Docker. Take care. Bye bye.